Got everybody? Where is that? There's the start slideshow. There we go. All right, I think we're live. How is everybody today? How's everybody at home? Can you hear me? Somebody at home say something if you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Somebody unmute your, okay, all right.
You're breaking up a little on
So,
my
welcome
end.
to our first meeting of the year. We've got about maybe 25 or 30 people here at the Bowen. So for the first time in a while, we have more people at the Bowen than on Zoom, but glad to see everybody. We've got a good program for you tonight. Our speaker is Ron Sherman, and he's actually not here in person. He's going to be on Zoom also, so that'll be a new challenge for us, but hopefully it'll work out. But we'll go ahead and get started here. So we're going to do our usual tonight. We're going to talk club business, and then we'll talk about events. Then Ron speak, and then we're going to do our photo challenge. Our theme this month is Southern Charm. So we'll get to that in a little bit. Everybody here, do you have a ballot? Is there anybody who doesn't have a ballot? So we'll hand them out. Hopefully we have enough. I have some more I can cut up if we need it. All right, Zoom people, can you hear me if I? This is. Zoom people, can you hear me if I'm not standing right next to the computer?
We can hear you, Mike.
All
Hear you
right.
good.
Excellent. I'm mic'd. So the brand new year. So of course, we have to ask you to pay your dues. If you'd like to be a paid member. It's $20 for an individual or $30 for a family. Remember that all money we make from the dues go right back to the club. We have expenses now. We have rent here for the Bowen, for the equipment. Events. I just paid our annual Zoom subscription. So we appreciate if you pay your dues because you're helping to support our club and everything that we do, all our education. Paid members get a few extra benefits. You get to enter our monthly challenges. We have our free mentorship program. We have our private Facebook page, free workshops and reduced pricing and first access to special events. Also our annual picnic and our Christmas dinner. And if you do not, you can still participate. You can some meetings. You can still go on day trips, like when we do our annual Milky Way trip. But definitely you get more for your money if you pay. $20 is not that much. You attend one workshop, you've gotten your money's worth. And again, you're supporting the club and everything we want to do. If you want to pay, just go to our website, northgeorgiaphotographyclub.com. So this is kind of a transitional year for us. I've mentioned this at our Christmas meeting. We're going to be incorporating, we're coming up with a set of bylaws and a board of directors, and it's going to be a transitional year. Dick has been handling a lot of that. Dick is our vice president, and Dick is going to go ahead and kind of tell you what we've done so far and where we stand with this.
Okay, so I have a set of bylaws that I think is close to completion. I expect by the end of the month, I'll have that available for everybody to look at. The process right now that we envision is to be a nonprofit corporation, but not tax exempt. And the reason for that is that being tax exempt imposes a bunch of constraints on what it is we can spend our money on. So and we don't have such a large income that we're going to end up paying all that much in taxes anyway. On top of that, if you're tax exempt, you have to go through this process of proving it, both to the state and the feds, and that costs money. However, as a nonprofit, that pays taxes, we still have to file a tax return. We still have to renew our business license every year. Those things both also cost money. But the process of becoming incorporated is fairly straightforward. Somebody has to file articles of incorporation. And articles of incorporation require a number of people to be identified, in particular, at least 3, but not more than 25 directors. We're thinking 3. And the club officers, presumably at least president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer. We could have more. I don't see any reason why we need more. But just filing those articles of incorporation is $100 payable to the Secretary of State of Georgia. But before we do that, we have to do a couple other things. We have to register the name, which has to be, in legal terms, distinguishable, not necessarily unique, but just distinguishable from other names in the state of Georgia. And then we have to identify a person called the registered agent. That is the person who will be our contact with the state. That's the place and the person to which the Secretary of State's office will send any correspondence to the club. And that's the place from which anything back to the state has to originate. Not that the registration has to prepare whatever it is, but they have to send it. So we're looking, we have people identified to be our directors. Right now, there appears to be Michelle, Patrick Olmsted, and Lisa Sains, who will be stepping down as co-president to be a director. We're still looking for someone to be a registered agent. The significance of that is that we need to figure out what our business address will be. I haven't a clue. If anybody's got any ideas, let me know.
We can't use the Bowen as the
Yeah.
business address.
No,
And that would make things easy.
but yeah,
That was my very first question.
legislators, it would be too simple to be real. They had to make it complex and wonderful. Pardon? Oh, I think it's very simple to change it. Yeah. Right, yeah. We need a volunteer. Okay. So that's part one. The other part is, in the bylaws anyway, I have written in a process for electing officers, something we've never done before. And so we will be looking for volunteers. Mike and I have been president and vice president for something like
About 2017 or 18, I think.
Yeah. So we're sincerely looking for some volunteers to be the club officers. The bylaws also presently stipulate 4 standing committees. If I can remember this right. Monthly meetings, mentoring and resources, group events, and membership. We need chair people for those committees and presumably volunteers to help those chair people. Anyway, the trick to this is going to be that right now the bylaws stipulate that in the September, I think it's September meeting, Mike will identify a nominating committee, and we will have election of officers in January, and officers will serve from March 1st to the end of February. That's just to allow a little bit of overlap for the officers elect. So anyway, we have from now until late this year, I guess, to identify people who are willing to serve as next year's officers.
And you will get training because.
Yeah, well, we're not planning to throw you in the deep end of the pool
Yeah.
at first. The other thing, the other thing that comes along with incorporation is the ability to actually have a business bank account, which is something Mike and I are currently the joint owners of a checking account that holds all our money. Once we get incorporated, we can convert that to a business bank account. And the club, the president, vice president, treasurer probably will have the signature authority on that account. that's one of the big motivators for me, because making that a business account gives the officers a liability shield. So but that's where we're at. Is I hope to get the bylaws out for people to read by the end of the month. I've got a few people reviewing them now, and the early return said I had a whole bunch of typos, so we'll fix that. But we'll be having them out for review and comment before we actually go ahead and pull the trigger on incorporation. So look for that. And if you have any ability to help us out in terms of being an officer or committee chair, or even serving on a committee, please raise your hand, figuratively, electronically.
Reach out to us, or, email us, message us on Facebook. And, if you want to know what does this position entitle, we think we have somebody for the secretary position, and they're kind of testing the waters right now. So we'll see how that goes. A lot of it is in flux right now. So just reach out and ask questions,
That's why I really want to get the bylaws
yeah.
out, so you can see
Exactly.
the size and shape of this thing. That'll make the conversation a lot easier.
One thing I've always said, it's not my club.
Yeah.
It's not Dick's club. It's not Lisa's. It's our club, and it's your club. And so we want to be open with everything, and we want your input on everything. And we want to do what you want to do while still keeping the vision that Herman created. Herman was our original president, and he's not involved anymore. But I'm still good friends with him, and want to keep the vision that he created actually 10 years ago. The club started 10 years ago. It's a club for people with interest in photography to get together and to learn more about photography. And so that's basically our plans.
Back to you.
All right. And before I go to the next screen, just so that you know, for this year, we've got the Bowen, we've got the Bowen booked every month except May. We already have speakers for about 6 or 7 of the months set up. May, the one month that we're not here, we'll meet on Zoom that month. And that is the month we will do our editing challenge. And I'll reach out to a couple of people to see if they want to supply our raw image. And for your new members, we'll explain what that is later, but you're going to love it. It is lots of fun. So we won't have a speaker that month. We'll do our editing challenge. And I want to welcome the new members, because there are a lot of new people here, people I've met online, people who I just met at our field trip last week. So welcome. I'm glad you could make it.
And I want to congratulate Mike. I think this is the first month we actually got all the technology to work without a hiccup.
It's still early. It's still early. All right. So we've got a field trip scheduled for February to Callaway Gardens. Rick, if you want to actually take Dick's microphone, I'm tethered.
You're tethered?
Yeah,
All right.
Rick is wireless, I'm tethered.
Hey, how many people are going out for Mexican after? Show of hands. Awesome. Well,
How many people only come to the
Place
meetings to
out.
go out for Mexican?
If anybody's interested, Barry, if anybody's interested, Alex has some frozen serrano peppers that'll light you up. So he's got about a dozen of those. The February field trip, it's going to be a joint trip again, like we did last month with the Cobb Photographic Society. So twice the fun, we're going to go to Callaway. It is Saturday, the 25th. I've got a handout here for you that I'm going to pass around. Please take one if you're interested. But Saturday, the 25th, we're going to meet there at opening time at the Cecil B. Day Butterfly Center at Callaway Gardens. So it's all about butterflies. So you're going to want to bring your macro lens or any lens that you use for close-up. I'd suggest something in the mid-range as well, kind of wide to medium reach for some group shots or some broader shots, but there's a lot of opportunity in there. If you've never been there, it's a great indoor. It's basically a big old terrarium. You're going to sweat like a pig in there, but it's fun. And there's lots of gorgeous butterflies and lots of plants in there for them to be hanging around on. So you get some really cool compositions that look like you took them out in nature somewhere. But I won't tell, that you actually captured those things in CCP Day. Anyway, that's coming up and we're going to meet there at 10. It's about a 2-hour drive from Marietta. So from here, it would probably be
3 hours.
3+. So it's a bit of a drive for the North Georgia crew. But if you've never been there, it's a really fantastic place. And again, you'll get to hang out with some of the cool folks that you met in January at Savoy. Okay. So I'm going to pass this out and give this back to Dick.
And we'll get that posted online, probably next week sometime.
Okay, I'll go 1 month further. I think in March, I will organize another waterfall trip. I'm thinking it'll be Panther Falls, Angel Falls, and Minnehaha Falls. For me, that's significant because the last time I went to Panther Falls, I broke my camera and gave Barry a very good challenge to resuscitate it. But I haven't been back since. Back to Mike.
All right. And workshops. Timmy's under the weather, but I think I saw her online earlier. Are you here, Timmy?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Can people here the people in the room can't hear you? Okay. Do what? Hang on a second. Oops. I have to get out of the screen. We're gonna try to turn up the volume here. I'm already at 100.
Oh, all right. Tough.
All right. All right, so speak really loud, Timmy.
Okay, I will try. I sound like a frog as it is, so please forgive
Speaking of
me.
frogs,
So anyway, just real quick about workshops. I'm trying to organize some. I've got one for March in the works. But right now what I need from everyone is to fill out the survey. I created a very quick, I think it's 8-question Google form. It's on Facebook right now. It's under the featured. And I think Mike's going to email it out, but it's really quick. And I left a lot of blanks for others. So if nothing that you want is in that category, be sure to fill out the other. But that'll be really helpful for me as I'm trying to find people for workshops. And we can also use that information for field trips and any other educational opportunities that we create. So anyway, if anybody has any questions or just ideas besides the survey, always be sure to, just shoot me an email, or you can contact me on Facebook Messenger. A lot of people do it that way.
all right. And I'll summarize what Timmy said for the people here who couldn't hear her. Timmy's in charge of our workshops. She did a wonderful job. Last year was her first year doing that. And we're glad she's back this year. She's working on one for March. She'll post details once it's ready. On our paid Facebook page, paid members page, she posted a survey with about 8 or 10 questions just to get your ideas of what kind of things you want to learn, what kind of activities you're interested in. So it wouldn't be just for workshops. It could be used for planning trips, planning speakers. One of the things we want to do in the second half of the year is maybe instead of having a speaker at a meeting, doing some kind of demonstration. So that's where we're going to get a lot of that information. So fill that out. I'm going to send it. I'm going to email it to the paid members probably on Monday or Tuesday next week. I didn't want to mail it this week and bombard you with emails this week. So watch for that next week, and please fill that out by the end of the month, because that's going to provide a lot of good information so that, again, we can do what you guys want to do. All right. So now what everybody's actually here for, because I know you didn't come to hear me speak, or maybe you did. Ron Sherman, he is our speaker tonight, and I forgot to print out his biography to read it to you, but he's been a photographer in Atlanta for over 50 years. He spoke to us about 2 years ago when the pandemic first started. And I'll tell you, a lot of you, even if you're not baseball fans, you've seen Ron's work. He took the iconic photo of Hank Aaron rounding second base when he broke Hank Aaron's record. and there's two fans coming up on the side. That is his photo. So most of you probably know his work. So Ron, I'm going to go ahead and make it so that you can share your screen. Give me just a second. All right, Ron, you should be able to share your screen. Yeah. Yeah. All right, go ahead and. All right, and you also need to unmute yourself, Ron.
Now, it wants me to,
There you go. Yeah, you should be able to click on share screen on your computer.
I thought I already did. Share
Then you should get an
screen.
option
Oh,
of,
okay.
yeah, wherever you have your slideshow saved on your computer.
I guess it's desktop. Open system preferences. I guess. It says screen recording, but it's not. A quick share screen, and I'm on desk one. I only have one desktop.
Does it show you like little thumbnails of things on your computer?
No,
No. Do you know where you have it saved on your computer? You can go into your directory to find it.
well, I have the talk open.
If he opens this slideshow, it will show.
Slideshow is
Yeah.
open.
He says he has it open.
I can close it and see if it if that makes a difference. Okay. Share screen. Just says I have desk one, whiteboard, all play, and it just I have clicked share sound. Yes.
All right, does one of them show like the first page of your slideshow?
No, it just says allow screen to share your screen. Allow Zoom to share your screen. Open system preferences.
Yeah, that should be what you need to hit. Or I may have. What? Oh.
Unlock. Zoom.
Make your mind off completely.
Privacy and security, turn on vault, lockdown mode. Now, got any ideas?
All right, let me see if I can download your program. I tried to download it before, but we were having internet issues here. So let me see if I can download it.
Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. Oh, sorry.
Should open in PowerPoint.
That's the problem. Yeah, that's feedback. It's feedback. Yeah.
All right. Looks like it's going to take me 2 minutes to download it. When I tried to do it earlier, it said 3 hours. That's why I didn't do it.
It shouldn't have been, it's a 175 meg file, but
Yeah.
let's see what happens. Cause I was ready to go, but I don't know why, the joys of internet.
Well, while we're waiting for that to download, does anybody have any questions or comments about anything? Mhm.
Well, when you have a box there, it shows the student, it's the number, it looks like it's a red. but it's like
Oh,
a no box.
Oh, like a fake PO box.
And
all right.
that's all the problem, but everybody that's president, it's just whenever they want.
Exactly. That could work. Dick, did you hear that? 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 It's echoing. I think we might need to turn his off. Right. We got it halfway there, Ron.
Okay,
Okay, we
well,
have a commercial announcement going here. And I don't know how this is gonna work. Anyway. Michelle is giving away free, the right price, round numbers. Two sets of clear sleeves. Should be in each package. For one more place. Yeah, other might want to be clear sleeves. If you're not store your pictures.
yeah, I see there's some, I see there's some questions asked. Mike?
Yeah.
You gotta turn your microphone off. And for each of them.
Pamela asked if I always was preferred black and white photography. That was from Pamela Bush.
I've never seen this kind of setup before. I've never seen this kind of setup. Oh, this is. I'm sorry. This is
Almost there, 30 megs to go.
Did you hear what I said about Pamela's question I could talk about? Could you hear me?
Yeah, I heard something about black and white.
She wanted to know if I had my preferred black and white.
Oh, that's Ron talking. Okay.
Yeah, that's me talking. But I can answer that later on.
Okay, here, right now.
Ron, we can hear you just fine if you want to go ahead and answer it.
Okay, well, bottom line is I started out in black and white because color was real expensive. And when I was in college and high school, that's what I shot, was black and white. When time came, it was time to do color photography also. Now I do both still.
You said about the no problem with the technology.
Notice I didn't say it. Okay, we're almost there.
Well, I think one's got the problem. No. We've got two wireless microphones. No.
All right.
We do it all the time. We do all of ours. All he's gotta do is show it and then share screen. I understand that. I don't think that. No, but I'm saying what we accomplished tonight. Oh, no, that was great. That was great. Just to get the whole-
Okay. There's your screen. No, wait, is that on his or is that mine? All right, that's on. Okay, we're sharing it on my screen, but that's okay. I have to control it.
Yeah,
I
you'll,
think.
I'll say go, next.
Okay. We got it. So it's really slow internet here, but not as slow as it was earlier. All right, Ron. We're ready to go.
Okay, I'm here.
So just let me know when to change the screen and he's gonna go and we're ready to begin again.
Okay.
You are not sharing his to Zoom.
People on Zoom aren't seeing it?
No,
All right, hang on. I think I know what I need to do.
that's not my screen.
All right, Ron, are you still sharing your screen? I need you to unshare.
No. No, I don't have any control over it.
All right. What are you people seeing at home? Are you seeing the Zoom screen?
Yeah,
All right.
here you go.
All right.
Okay, you'll go up to, from beginning
Yeah.
over to the left.
There we are.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, I think
All
we're good.
right, yay. Okay, this was a fire that broke out about 3 miles from my house. I lived in Tucker on Lawrenceville Highway, and we had moved there in the July of 71. And this is early 72. And one morning I woke up to a lot of commotion on the TV and heard sirens and stuff like that. Looked outside and I saw this plume of smoke. So I got in the car and I went over there. Next. Can you hear me, Mike?
Yeah. All right. Just
Next.
had to get over
Okay,
the
there we
screen.
go. Oh, you went too fast. Just back up, please.
Okay, just
Oh, you're going the wrong direction.
not technical errors.
I can't talk that fast.
Nobody ever said we were professional around here.
Want to back it up and just to slightly touch the key
I was trying to get my mouse and
or mouse, whatever.
broke my mouse.
Okay, go about 8 steps back.
All right, so my mouse is broken. All right. Let's see.
You have a keyboard there?
There.
Yeah, wrong.
Going in the right direction?
Keep going back, keep going back, keep going back. Okay, yeah, just use that. Keep
Okay.
going, one more.
That's
Well,
it.
just go from there. Anyhow, you can see the tanks are on fire. This was 50 years ago. Vapors from the overfilled tank caught the pilot light when nearby home burnt and exploded into the 3 tanks. Okay, go to the next one. And you can see the flames themselves, the height that they were, the heat. I actually got a little fringed on the eyebrows by getting too close to the fire. Next. And that's what the plume of fire looked like. Flames reached 400 feet. There was next. There were 20 firefighters hospitalized. 300 people were evacuated. Next. And there's the fireman at work with the house he was trying to save. That one I think got saved, but the one next to it didn't. Next. You can hear me, right? There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. There's rescue squad. You can see these were professionals. Next. They were getting people, the firemen out to thing. The Red Cross was there with helping the firemen. Next. And the aftermath of one of the yards. This is the house that was burnt is behind me. Next. And this is, geez, I lost his name. He was a Hall County fireman, and I'll have his name on the next panel. Anyhow, that was my favorite photo of not favorite only because it showed the expression on his face and how tired he was, and got his name. His name was Buzzard Sewell. It just popped in my head. Great name. I ran into a cousin of his years later who was a fireman in Atlanta. Next. Georgia Magazine produced a poster. They were connected with the Williams Printing, and so they did this 24 by 38 inch poster with the black and white fire picture there, and with Buzzard Sewell. And the headline, of course, is Buzzard Sewell was at Doraville, and so was Ron Sherman, photographer. I got a couple packs from the printing company of these posters, and I proceeded to send them out to the various fire stations I could find. Plus, I sent a bunch up to Buzzard's company, and they distributed them up in Hall County. Next. And we're switching from subject to subject of my early years, and they were my most important years as a photojournalist. Someone gave me grief over the internet. They said there aren't 4Ks in Ku Klux Klan. I said, well, if you say Knights of the Ku Klux Klan, there are. He thought I had retouched it, but no, these are all real photos. Next. So we were invited. I was working for United Press International and as a freelance photographer. Next slide, if you can get it. And we were invited as guests of the Ku Klux Klan. Is there? Can you get the next one? Whoops! You jump one. No, you jump two. You need to go back. One more. Okay, he's the head Klanner. He had owned us. Oh, back to where we were. He was
different speeds.
He was a property owner of the land that was right by Stone Mountain, and we were not being treated really nice when we first got there. This was in the local press, news photographers, etc. And he gets on the microphone and says, "Ladies and gentlemen, these are invited guests to our soiree here. Please be kind and gentle to them and answer any questions." So that's when we were able to go out and shoot pictures. Next, please. Okay, so these are and next, you can just go through these fairly quickly because I don't think we have much time. Okay, and next, there you go. Oh, okay. The one behind that, the guy in green uniform, I just liked his stance and his uniform. That was one heck of a, well, he calls it a uniform, I call it a costume, but that's okay. Next. And this is a picture, I had an agent in New York, and this picture sold for many editorial uses. And this is my close-up and personal view with the Ku Klux Klan. I never really got to photograph them anymore, except for when they were in Atlanta or in North Georgia when they had the little soiree up there. Okay, next, please. This is the Hank Aaron story. This is him. His wife is on the left there. They're having a bust dedicated to him. With the president of the Braves standing right behind him, and you see Governor Jimmy Carter right there. Next. There's the celebrities, Sammy Davis Jr., Dick Cattell, who was CNS president, Mayor Maynard Jackson, and Governor Jimmy Carter. So there are a few important people around to enjoy the evening. Next. And this is the hit that he was at bat the first time and didn't make it on base. This is the second time at bat, and this is like the third or fourth ball that was hit his way. I was set up on the third base side on the field level, figuring I'd be on that side so that I could, since he's a right-hander, when he finished the swing, I'd see his face and the bat. Next. This is the picture that is the iconic photo that I made. And what I found out years later by research is there are 100 photographers there at least, and no one else had this photo that was as clear as this was. There were a few other pictures, but they were nothing. I think these guys said, oh, he hit the home run, we can take a smoke. Or I'm not sure what happened. But, and this is the picture that ended up in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Next. And this is coming around third to home plate, being greeted by his fans, the other baseball players. Next. And the ball that he was brought to him from outfield. And that little guy on the right there was a Sports Illustrated photographer who was busting his way through to get to him. And there was an AP photographer on the left and on his right and me on his left, and we both looked at each other and gave him an elbow to the head. He still got in there and made a picture that made the cover of Sports Illustrated, but we figured he probably will have a headache the next day, but we didn't care. He was a typical New York photographer who was pushing his way to get his picture. I've seen it happen before, but of course, us Atlanta photographers, he'd never do that. Next. And this is his wife, Billy, give him a hug. And if you see the gentleman in the back, the guy over with the Leica camera, that's Alfred Eisenstadt, the famous Life magazine photographer. I don't think he was in the right place to get the picture that I got. So I'm happy for that. Next. And this is his mom and dad afterwards. Next. And this is the press conference. You always have a press conference. If you notice, Georgia after the game, they had like a 2-hour press conference. I was there for about a half hour, 45 minutes, had the pictures I wanted and moved on. Next. Now we switch to Jimmy Carter and Lester Maddox. They weren't real good friends. Carter was a governor and Lester Maddox was the lieutenant governor, and they didn't see eye to eye in a lot of things. Next. This is Carter as governor and George Wallace. George Wallace came to the House of Representatives, a joint meeting of the Senate and the House, and gave a rousing speech. I hadn't heard him talk like that since probably Montgomery. And the crowd loved it. The senators and congressmen loved it. And I worked my way in front of him as he left. And I think it took me 35, 40 minutes to get from the podium to the exit. He was very popular there. The next time I photographed him was at the Southern Governors Conference. And then that was earlier than that. And then there was a time in Montgomery after he had been shot and he was in a wheelchair and they were doing some kind of presentation. So that's the last couple of times I saw him. Next. I spent from the day Carter announced for the presidency to the day he was inaugurated, and Newsweek had, I did a lot of freelancing down there, self-assignment. I did a lot of self-assignments. But the Carter thing, I had news magazines like Newsweek hire me. And so I was down there numerous times. So this is the picture of him at the farm with his brother, Billy. Next. And then this was on a cover story. So we're in the house with his wife, Rosalind, Next. Signing pictures, and this is his office, the typical office, few books there. Who I got to spend a day and a half with him, and it was an interesting day and a half. Next. And this was a fish fry he had for the press. And of all the pictures, this one is my favorite only because of you can see the relationship between him and his daughter and Amy. And it's a picture that works for me, and it went over very well with my agent. Licensed that photo. Next. And this is my favorite picture of Carter, the big smile. And there's a story that goes along with that smile with the teeth, but when you saw it used different places, but it just sort of he very seldom did I ever see him solemn, and they always seemed to be outgoing and not necessarily happy, but focused. Next. And this is one of many handshakes that I photographed Carter with, but this was 4th of July. This was in Westville, and we were on our way to Plains. And this is my wife, Mara. She was 6 months pregnant when I took her along on this trip. And we had twin boys born 3 months later. And years later, I said, "Hey, boys, you met the future president of the United States." And they didn't think it was funny, but I did. And I'm not sure if my wife chuckled or not. But it's a picture that I prize because very few times has she ever been with me on an assignment. Next. This is a trip to Florida. I was able to talk my way onto the plane, the president of the candidate's plane to go down to Florida, to go to the University of Georgia. Sorry, I made a mistake. University of Florida football game, and I don't think Georgia was playing that day. And I went with him, and they landed in the morning, and I got to photograph him with a lot of politicians and people. They had a couple of rallies there and all that. And then he's outside the football field with campers where they were camping, and talked to this young boy. But then he's going next. He's going down to the stairs to the stadium, and he's halfway down the stairs, the Secret Service behind him, and then I'm behind the Secret Service. And the man stops me. He's on the aisle, and he says, "Hey, who's that?" I said, "That's Governor Carter, Jimmy Carter, and he's running for president of the United States." And the guy looks at me, he says, "Jimmy who?" And I think that's where that sort of moniker started, because when I got on the plane back to Atlanta, there was a couple press people there in New York Times and the AJC, and I mentioned that to him. So I'm not sure if I instigated that or somebody else did, but I can take credit for it if I want. Now, on this cover shot assignment I had, I was down there and we walked outside and did some by his high school and a bunch of other places, and we saw this field, so I had him walk through that. And I was told by the picture editor who hired me, "I think this is our cover shot." I said, "Great." Well, they futzed around week after week after week, and it was close to getting the primary or the election, and all of a sudden they decided, well, we can't do one picture of Carter and another picture of Gerald Ford, so they got 2 headshots and did a half shot on an angle with Jimmy and another half shot with Ford. And my picture never ran as a cover because it was too late. It was close to the election, but it's on 2 or 3 different Jimmy Carter books, so I'm happy with that. Next. This is primary night that he won the primary for that election in Atlanta. Next. This was Gerald Ford and Jimmy Carter getting ready for the debate. So here are the guys getting earplugs in their ears and their jackets fixed and all that. And the wire service was man short, so they asked me to go cover this part. I said, "Well, probably won't be exciting, but when I got this picture, I said I was very happy with it because I don't think I would have seen anything else like it during the debate. In fact, I was tempted not to stay for the debate, but it was really boring to me because all they did was two guys sitting there and answering questions. Next. This is Victory Night in Atlanta, where he won the election. Next. And then I got in the car and drove down to Plains to get there in time for this picture, which was the one in Atlanta was raucous. It was, I mean, good old time. These people were so somber and I mean, they clapped and everything when they came in, but you didn't hear a peep out of them. And then when he left, I don't know, it was really weird, a lot different from the Atlanta. But I got there in time and made this photo to show the difference between the two. Next. And then I was in Washington on the platform, the photography platform, to get the picture of him getting sworn in. And then last but not least, next, we got them walk. I was on the truck van where I could, didn't have to walk the route. This is the family when they got out of the car and walked down Pennsylvania Avenue. And it was a very hard year. I did a lot of traveling. I was gone a lot, but man, I loved it. It was, I'm glad I didn't do it again and haven't done it since, but it was a good time for me then. Next. And here's my favorite picture of the two of them with them smiling, but they're smiling for different reasons. I don't remember what the joke was, if there was a joke, but I got a feeling I would never see this picture again of the two of them smiling next to each other. Next. And this is my favorite picture of Lester Maddox. He was lieutenant governor, and then he went into, I don't know, he had some private businesses and stuff like that, but he was always marketing himself. And first time I met him, he was playing a harmonica in the in Underground, and then I ran into and photographed him numerous times. But when I saw this picture, I just thought, as a Democrat holding a donkey, which is a symbol of the Democratic Party, I said, how can I beat that for a photo of Lester Maddox? Next. And this is the night that he won, or he got into a runoff, but he lost the election to his opponent, and George, basically 73, he won the primary, but he didn't have enough votes, so they had a runoff, and George Busby became governor. Next. Andy Young was a he was a U.S. representative, UN ambassador, mayor. This is at a Carter victory rally, and with Coretta Scott King. They were very close, especially, and Andy Young was a disciple of Martin Luther King. He would work with him and march with him, and Andy is a very, I was impressed with his credentials and what he did. Next. This one is at the Carter Victory Rally at the Georgia World Congress Center, and this would have been for right before the presidency, but not, it was the primary night, but not the presidential election night. Next. And this is, I've shot a lot of politicians winning elections. This was Andy Young as the mayor of Atlanta. And what I loved about it is everybody's smiling. There's a picture I have of Maynard Jackson, and he's talking at the podium, but everybody else just sort of has this frown on his face. But you got Reverend Abernathy behind Gene. Everybody's smiling and happy, and so it's one of my fun pictures that I like from all the photos I've shot of the podium and the victory night. Next. And here's marching with John Lewis, one of the many marches I photographed, both of them at one time or another. Next. Coretta Scott King. Coretta Scott King is a force to be reckoned with. She not only suffered through the assassination of her husband, but stood tall afterwards, saying, I'm going to do something. And so she created the King Center. She promoted civil rights. She did all sorts of things that were really a step forward for the African American community. So this is at one of the conferences in front of the when they were deciding on or announcing the King Center was going to be built. Next. This is a photo I shot during at Ebenezer Baptist Church sometime in the 80s, and I always wanted a really good picture of her that would stand out, and I saw her there sitting in the pew, and I made a photo of it. And then it reminded me of a photo that I'd seen in Life magazine when Martin was assassinated. And the cover shot was a Chicago photographer that photographed for the King family, and he had the official job of photographing the ceremony. And that picture had Coretta's daughter was sitting in her lap with her head in her lap, and it was the same lighting, and it was the same view, though that mine is the headshot. And it's almost remarkably the same when I found that other picture. She's just a lady of elegance, tough lady, but a lady of elegance. Next. March, one of the many marches again, with Andy Young on the left and Desmond Tutu right next to her, and her son behind Desmond Tutu. Again, another time where she's out there marching and trying to accomplish some things. Next. This picture was courtesy of Coretta Scott King. A friend of mine, Britt Graham, was a graphic designer, and I did a lot of corporate work for him. And he called me and he says, hey, the King people would like me to do a publication for them, and I'd like to hire you as the photographer, but there's no budget. I says, okay, well, it's a freebie for him. It's a freebie for me in terms of getting this job done. So I'm at this meeting, and Coretta's there along with her staff and a couple other people in Crit and all that. And we're discussing different things. And she said out loud, I'd like a night shot of the King Center in color. So of course I raised my hand since I was the only photographer in the room. And I said, well, ma'am, can't use a helicopter because color film is it's a little too slow for that. But can you get me a hook and ladder truck? And she thought about it for a second. She says, I'll let you know. So about a week or two later, I get a call from their office and saying, well, we got the truck. Where do you want it and when? So I said, good evening, sunset, sunshine, no rain, but I want a sunset shot. And so we came up with a date, and it turned out to be the perfect date. And so I met the fire truck on the other side of the King Center. I said, well, he says, where do you want it? I said, well, so I can get the tomb in the foreground and the skyline in the background. So they positioned it. They ran the ladder up. I got up there with a fireman right behind me, making sure I wasn't going to fall off. And thank goodness for Kodachrome 200, but I was able to make the shot. I understood, I never saw her again, but I understood that she was very happy with the photo. The problem was, Crit said they're not sure they're ever going to get it published. There were some problems with, I don't know, whatever they were doing. So I shrugged that off, but I have the photo and I'm happy with it. Next. And this is the picture I was talking about with the new governor, new mayor, and Maynard was an interesting character. I really liked following him around because he had such a personality that everybody liked him. But again, you see everybody just sort of somber there, and there's Maynard with speaking, but he's happy. But it's such a different picture between his and the earlier one. Next. This is one of my favorite with him, just how he related to the kids. They were having a good time there. and they behaved themselves, and he was talking to them and they seemed to understand him. And so again, this is a favorite shot, and it's been used numerous times when they were documenting Maynard for different stories. Next. This was a sad situation. This was he's with Arthur Kaplan, who was a paramedic and a judge, and they were going to Martin Luther King Sr.'s wife's home. She was assassinated that day, and Maynard was there to of course express his condolences and consult with her, with him and the family. Sad day, but it just shows what he would do for people, whether they were important people or just regular people that he dealt with every day. Next. Another one of my favorite Maynard shots. They were having an exhibition match with Muhammad Ali. Julian Bond was the referee. And so they were sparring around and just fooling around. And all of a sudden you saw a left, I think it was a left hook come up, and I don't know if it hit him on the chin or whatever. So Ali goes down and he's counted out. And then of course, Maynard was running around with his hands in the air and stuff like that. It was a fun night. They were raising money for one of Ali's charities. I'm not sure which one it was, but the press had a good time. The three principals had a good time, and it was a fun evening. Next. Now I put this in only because I thought it didn't dawn on me when I first shot it. That's President and CEO of Coca-Cola, John Kerry, and I'm sorry, Frank Kerry, and Maynard at the opening of the GSD, General Systems Division, corporate headquarters for IBM on Northside Drive. And it wasn't until later I looked at that flag, which happens to be the Georgia flag, as you probably know, but it's also the Confederate symbol on there. And I just thought that's sort of ironic. I don't think it really means anything, but considering the juxtaposition of a white man, a black man, and the Confederate flag, yeah, there could be some connotation, but I just thought it was interesting. Next. And the Olympics. See, we've been transposing to, I guess, what I consider the most important aspects of my early career. And this is the march up Peachtree Street for the Olympics. Next. Opening ceremonies. I was able to get a couple tickets because these people in California couldn't come, and I offered 2 professional 11 by 14 inch prints, including the price, the stated price of the tickets. They agreed to that, and we had these great seats. You could see the skyline in the background. You had those flags. So this made a great opening shot for me, for the Olympics and for me. Next. And this was a bunch of wires were going from the top of the roof down to the stadium floor. And these people, guys and girls, I guess, were attached to these ribbons on the bottom. And so they came down on the wire, and these ribbons, there were the different colored ribbons around the end of the stadium. Next. And I picked this one mainly because it's in a print show that I just concluding this week. And I just liked it because it showed off a variety of athletes, and not anyone specific, but it talks about the joy of having the Olympics in Atlanta and the work that all these people do. Next. And this is just to give you an idea of the scope of the Olympics and all the people that were there. Next. Now, we were on the other side of the stadium, so I had to use, of course, the telephoto lens to get this, but I wasn't able to get Muhammad Ali lighting the torch, so I stuck with this as the lighting of the torch and showing the torch off from before they moved it off to the other street. Next. And this is the concluding part with the fireworks and all the members of the athletes in the center of the audience. Next. This is Global Olympic Village, where we spent a couple evenings at. we were there the night of the explosion, but we had left about this time before the explosion. So we watched it on TV. We had just gotten home and watched it on TV. Again, it was a place where everybody congregated to see the show. Next. And this is the memorial. I think I was there a day or two later. And if you're ever there, you can look up at the where the artwork is, and you see some holes in there from the explosion. Next. And this turned out to be a unique little deal for me. We were at the Olympic soccer championship up in the rafters at the University of Georgia Stadium, but it was a good overall view. I didn't mind overall views. And then there were these 4 students. So I don't know if they were from the University of Georgia, all decked out. So I went over and made a few photos of them. And then I said, hey, I'm a professional photographer. I'd like to get your names and contact information, and I'll send you some prints. If you'll assign me, I didn't say a model release, I said a photo release. Got all 4 photo releases and send that picture to my agent in New York. And then a year or so later, I opened up one of the modern photography, one of the photography magazine, and there's my picture on the back of the magazine, but I use Nikon, and this was for Pentax. So I looked at it because most of the time the advertisers want their camera being used for the photos they used. Well, my agent probably says, I don't know what camera he used. And so they went ahead and used it. I thought that was ironic because I don't think my friends who are in the business of supplying photos to these magazines, they make sure they have the right camera. I had the right camera. They just, they bought what they liked, and that was fine with me. Next. We're going into a set of aerial photography that I've been doing over the years. I flew helicopters and small planes in Vietnam. I was riding on them. I wasn't flying them. And then I had connected with a very top end pilot in Atlanta. Back then it was only $500 an hour. Now it's $1,000 an hour to go up in one of their helicopters. But I had an assignment to do the Hartsfield Airport, and they wanted something pretty spectacular. So it took him about 2 or 3 weeks to get clearance. And they called me and says, hey, we got an hour's opening so-and-so. I said, God, I hope it's not raining. He says, me too. And we had about 15, 20 minutes in the air. So he's at the cab. We flew down there, made a tour of the whole airport because they had closed it for an hour for some reason. So we had total access to go anywhere, not worry about planes. And this end was the best end. This is the A terminal. I used the fisheye lens for that. And I got the picture I want. Next. But I was concerned about that because a lot of art directors don't like fisheyes. They want the straightforward one, and especially editorial editors. So I shot the straightforward picture, horizontal, vertical. And usually for everything I've ever shot, I shoot horizontal and vertical because the editors hate when they see a photo that doesn't fit their layout. Next. This is one of my favorite shots of Atlanta Fulton County Stadium because it got the skyline in, and it wasn't the traditional straightforward stadium in the foreground and the skylines horizontally in the background. This shot basically did very well for me in licensing because it was different from everybody else's. Next. Again, it's tough to shoot color at night. This was before digital, pretty much before digital, but I had access to the blimp that was going around. This is before the Olympics. During the Olympics, I didn't have access to the blimp anymore. And so with that platform, I was able to make a series of night shots that I still relish today because last time I had the blimp, well, it was years later, and I didn't need their services anymore with digital. Next. Again, skyline of Atlanta, downtown Atlanta, fisheye. Just because I like the look, and some people like them, some don't. But I have I shoot the straightforward ones, and then I shoot the ones that I like to have be something different. Next. We're on our way to an assignment somewhere downtown or whatever. Left Peachtree Cab Airport. This is a golf course by it, and it was sunrise and it was foggy. And I looked out the window and said, "Got the shot," and that was it. Then we were off to the races to get to where we had to go. But that's what happens when you're out. It's called image of opportunity, and that's I take every opportunity I can to make a photo. Next. This was pre-Olympics, but both stadiums were built, and that was the blimp that I had to ride on. That I think Kroger owned that blimp, and so I had I didn't make any arrangements, but they were out on this late afternoon, and I was doing aerial shots, and they were. This picture is a computer image because I could not officially be this close in a helicopter to a blimp and in the air. So I had the blimp was in the air, but see about the size of that logo, the blimp was that much smaller when I saw it off in the distance. Probably the same place, but I was further away, and you don't get close to them. So, but this worked for me, and again, it's the kind of thing that you just have to be creative, and I try to be creative when I can. Next. Spaghetti Junction, yeah, worked great on the fisheye. Not so, it was just again, I call this different or extraordinary to the normal regular camera with a regular lens, even a wide angle lens. It just doesn't give you the perspective and the view that you want. So I'm very happy with that lens, and I use it a lot. Next. Vietnam, 1968. I did a lot of aerial photography, most of it classified, but I did a lot of aerial photography for me and a lot of street scenes in Saigon and Phu Bai. And this is my favorite. I love the way the field looked. It was a hazy day. The farmer was looking up. I was on a Huey helicopter, but there was no guns on the gunship. So he wasn't too worried. And I'm surprised he didn't wave. In fact, I think he did wave as we left the area. But it's one of my favorite Vietnam photos, and that's why it's in the collection, because it sort of says something about the resilience of what the Vietnamese went through. Next. This is some of my printed work. This is for Southern Natural Gas, East River, helicopter right off the East River. It was on its way up to Boston, and from Philadelphia. You see the Twin Towers in the background. And so we knew we had contact with, this was a Sonat tug and barge filled with, I think, fuel, gasoline, I'm not sure, but some liquid material. And so we had contact with the captain of the ship. And so when he was coming up the East River, we got in the air, and I saw how the lighting was going to be in a certain spot. And I really didn't pay attention to the Twin Towers, but I wanted to show where the island was in between the two waters. And so I just sat there, the helicopter just hovered, and I'm sure I had at least 2 cameras with me. I'm sure I went through a couple rolls of film till it got out of the scene. And the company loved it for that picture, and then they used it for an advertising campaign. Next. This was for the Atlanta Braves. What was unique about this is I was in a police helicopter. Braves, of course, it's like what Coretta wants, the Braves asked for. And so they landed the helicopter, and it was one of those little 2-seaters, which I hated to fly in. They're probably the most dangerous helicopters in the business, but that's what I got to ride in. So I took up for the ride. It landed right next to the stadium, near the stadium. Got in, got up, shot my picture, got back down, and got a sigh of relief. The PR guy at the Braves was happy with it, and they used it for this memories brochure. Next. This was for Airtran magazine. They had a 6-page layout of pictures, and this was coming down. They call them the Southern Bells coming down Peachtree Street. Next. This is for Coca-Cola, so the Delta Airlines. They had a Atlanta guide, and this was when Underground was hopping. Those of you who are old enough may remember Underground. It did sort of diminish fairly quickly after this was in the 70s. I think by the mid 80s they weren't what they used to be. But they were having I don't remember why they were having the fireworks, but I was there for that, and so that added to the picture. Always, sometimes luck is the better part of preparation than you can ever hope for. Next. This is one of my 4 hardcover books. These were corporate sponsored. 2 of them were corporate sponsored, and the last one was in 2013, I think it was, for the there was a publisher in Canada that was doing a series of books. These were usually 200 to 300 pages long. About a third of the book was corporate people's advertising and then my photos. But it paid very well, and I got some great exposure and had access, since it was for the Chamber of Commerce or one of the other organizations. I really had access to almost any building in Atlanta with the right credential. I had Chamber of Commerce or the mayor's office or whatever. Next. This is a stock photo that was used in Field and Stream, and they're very picky about their work that they pick. And I'm glad they picked this photo because it's one of my favorite in the Chattahoochee. Chattahoochee River is 400 and some odd miles long. I used many of it, parts of it, for location shots of people either boating or fishing, or just the beauty of the night and beauty of the day. Next. John Portman, cover shot for Business Week, top architect for in the United States or the world, actually, as things in Hong Kong and New York, you name it. And spent a day and a half with him documenting for this Newsweek cover. And it was really interesting to see a high-powered executive dealing with their employees. Of course, all their employees are top-notch too, but just seeing the interaction. I mean, he was easy to photograph, easy to deal with, and he gave me carte blanche. Anywhere I wanted to go with him, that was fine. I appreciated that kind of executive, because a lot of executives, they're a pain in the ass to photograph and you hate the assignment. This one I loved. Next. Miss Lillian. She is another lady to be admired. I was on assignment down in Plains for Newsweek, and nothing was going on. And I got a call from the picture editor at Newsweek and said, Miss Magazine is looking for a photographer for Miss Lillian for a cover. I said, well, I'm interested. So I gave them a call. And the editor up there says, yeah, we had a lady who was going to take pictures, but she said that she couldn't get Miss Lillian to pose. I said, that's an impossible situation, but as being down there so often and having lunch with her and some of the family time and again when I was there, you got to meet them and know them, and anything that you ask them, they'll do. So she was in the train station and I asked her if she could come out to the deck out there, because I didn't have any lights with me. They were in the car and I didn't want to do all of that. So she said, sure. She came out to the platform, train platform, the rocking chair there. She sat down in there, she said, oh, a bunch of my fans are out there. I said, can I talk to them? I said, please be my guest, gesture all you want. So I shot a couple of rolls of film on her, sent it up to New York, and this was the results. And the editor I ran into a couple months after that, and she didn't know me. Gloria Steinem was the editor. And I introduced myself and I said, I'm the photographer that shot down Miss Lillian. She said, oh, we loved it. But she says, you know what's weird? We had somebody write in that they thought it was the ugliest photo she'd ever seen of her. And I said, so why did you run the letters to the editor? She says, I loved running that one. So, there's no telling what editors will do or what fans or what writers will do. Next. Skyline, this is one of my skylines, aerial shots that was done for a postcard book. Brown Trout, they used 12 years of my photos with my name credited on there till they sold the company, and then the company went in different directions. But this book, I think it had 2 or 3 printings over about a 4 or 5 year period, because a lot of parts of Atlanta didn't change, so I didn't need to update parts of the city. Next. And this is, I got another Southern Natural Gas photo. This is a barge that we were on for 2 days. We had to sleep in the where the pilot was working. That was the only place, because we were only supposed to be on there a day, and we picked it up in New York, and instead of going to Boston, I went to Maine. So it was an interesting photo. And I did years and years of corporate photography in Southern Natural Gas. So that was one of my favorite clients, because they sent me all over the world and gave me carte blanche. The first job I did for them, I said, "What do you need?" He says, "Anything you give me." And that's the relationship I had with them for 20 years. Next. And this is a Peter Max cover, but we're on Sherman skyline. And I was very happy when they approached me and saying, "We want to use your photo." And he didn't tell me how it was going to be used. So when I saw it, I said, "This is great." But they warned me that they don't pay cash for their money, but you can pick out almost any picture within reason, one of his prints or artwork or whatever, as your gift, as your fee. And so I forgot what I got for him, but it was very nice deal that I worked out with that. Next. And then we into, I don't know how much time you want me to spend, but I have more. I can talk to you telling me to stop.
We probably can go about another 5 minutes or so, because then we
Okay.
have to do our monthly
All
challenge.
right, well, we'll go through these. I started doing panoramic photography in 1991. You can see that on the bottom part there, those were a dozen or however multiple photos. And this, of course, before computers and anything. So what we had to do was shoot it on film, get prints made, get the prints scanned, and then put them together on old-fashioned computers. And this is what we came up with. This was the first one we had done, and the most complicated in terms, or simple in terms of, I say complicated because of the steps we had to go through. But it got me thinking about keep doing this. Next. This is a work I did for a walk in the woods, which was a Nick Nolte. I got it here somewhere. Oh, I'm sorry, Nick Nolte, Robert Redford movie, and they wanted in the meeting. They said, well, they're going to have a wide angle shot from behind these guys coming out, seeing this mountain, wall of a mountain. So this is what we want. So this is a sample on top, what they wanted to fix and all that, and then this is the bottom picture that was sort of the way it was going to look, but it wasn't the finished product. Next. And this was a 22 feet by 132 feet, 22 feet by 132 feet long. And this is the backing of the set at the studio that was on 85. And then you'll see how they used it. Next. That's all you saw of all that work I did. And there's Nolte and Robert Redford climbing up this supposed mountain, and it's all a stage set there. So they used about 35 feet wide of the 132 feet long. But as they say, the rest of it was on the euphemism on the film on the floor. But that's, I still got paid for what the work I did, so they could use it any way they want. Next. This is CNN Center. after they got rid of the ice skating rink, and the architect wanted a panoramic photo. This was about 38 images that we put together. Now we're talking about digital. We got stuff scanned a lot better. Still had to manually put them together. And my graphic designer did that for about a week long, and they were happy with it. I think they ended up with a 64-inch print for their offices. This is for their architect, and that red stripe wasn't there when they built it, even though it was in the plan. So the architect said, could you put the red stripe in where the white stripe is? I said, sure, we can do anything you want. So we did that, and he was extremely happy because it was the way he envisioned it, not the way CNN decided to use it. Next. This was interesting in that there's nothing really fancy about this photo, but when I found it, I had a friend of mine who had a apartment in the building that overlooked this. There was no signage. There was no billboards. There was no nothing. When I saw that, I said, I got to come back and take some pictures of this, and which I did. And my agent loved it. She says, no billboards, no signage. It looks good. And the movie Mother's Day was looking for a skyline. And when they saw that, they said, this is a 2016 movie. There was, trying to think of the lady from North Georgia, Dalton, the actress. She was in this movie. And there were actually two movies by the same name. And then when the movies came out, they changed the name. And I went to one movie, one movie, and it was a New York scene. So I knew that wasn't the one. So I went to the one called Mother's Day. And so this is you have to do a little looking. The next picture, please. Find where this photo is in this other picture. Okay, you see where somewhere in that picture, that photo, part of it is in this picture. And it was supposed to be a panoramic glass window behind her. It wasn't. It was that little slit. Okay. So if you want to go back to the last one, anybody find it? Where it's very small. It's right in the center. You see that little blurb of light? Right in the center. My mouse isn't working. But if you go almost directly, there's an orange spot right in the middle of the scene, right next to the white building. Yeah, okay, go up, 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 keep going, up, 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 to the left, right, up, to the right, right there. Okay, go back to the picture, last picture. Say you'll see it right there, that's the little blurb. It took me forever to find it. So that, next. Oh, and this is one of the latest projects I did, which is Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And this was done with my Google camera. And you can see how it's finished on the top there. Go to the next one, you can see what it looks like. And this is the finished product using computer imaging, using my cell phone. And it's, I think, the largest I could go with that, it was about 48 or 50 inches wide. So, yes. Go one more and I'll tell you what we're at next. Okay, I have a series of sports photos. I can just run through them real quick. I don't have to say anything. You'll just say them if you want to just do that. We'll finish it up. It'll take about another 2 minutes. This was a high school. This is one of my high school pictures that won a prize. Next, just keep clicking. The Georgia Dome, one of their fans. And I just liked it because this is, hold on there for a second. This is a panoramic I shot. No, the next one. The picture, yeah. That's the 1975 Masters. Johnny Miller, Tom Weisskopf, and Jack Nicklaus were never before had the shootout, three-way shootout on the 18th green of the last day of the Masters. Nicklaus got the green jacket, and you can see Arnold Palmer there in black and white. Okay, next. Tiger Woods. Next. Motocross up in Road Atlanta. Next. Peachtree Road Race. He is a double amputee right there, 12902. Don't remember his last name. I don't remember his name right now, but he's running about 100 different marathon races around the country, around the world. Next, Road Atlanta auto race, soccer championship, the first one in 1971 in Atlanta, between Philadelphia and Atlanta, and there was another team. I can't remember what it is, but
Okay, the Chiefs.
and next, and it's one of my best soccer pictures. This is the Olympic trials. Next, Stan Smith World Championship of Tennis that was up in Norcross back in the 70s. And this was my high school prize winning photo when I was a senior. I just had to throw them in for the heck of it. Next, water skiing and down in Pine Mountain. And this is the last one, wrestling for one of the international championships that was held locally in Atlanta. That's it, babe. We're done.
Thank you, Ron.
Oh, you're welcome.
A lot of fascinating pictures, and a lot of those I remember seeing. Does anybody have any questions?
If you want to contact me, it's ronsphoto@ronsherman.com, which is my website, or ronsphoto@ronsherman.com. And then and that's my email address.
All right. Well, we appreciate it, Ron. Thank you for
You're welcome.
speaking to us again.
Thanks for the invite.
And we took care of the technical issues.
Yeah, well,
Thanks
we
so
got
much.
through it. You got through it. So thanks a
All
lot. Appreciate the.
right. A quick question that somebody just did on the chat. What focal length do you enjoy the most?
At one time, I was dead on using the 24mm Nikkor lens because I could just get it up and close and personal. But I had three favorites: the 24, the 85, and the 200. Till when I covered Jimmy Carter, I ended up with a 300 Canon lens preset, but I used Nikon, and I had Marty Forscher in New York converted. And so for a telephoto lens, 300-2.8 is gorgeous. But that's then. Now it's amazing what you can do. But the 24 had been my favorite for a long time.
Okay. Well, thanks again, Ron.
Okay.
We're going to go
welcome.
ahead and move on because it's getting late. Happy to stay on. We're going to do our photo challenge. You can stay on and
I've
see
got a
what
couple
we did
emails.
for
that I can-
Southern Charm, and you can even vote if you want.
I appreciate that. I've got a couple emails I have to return, so I appreciate
All
your
right.
time and
Good
effort.
evening. Thanks a
Any-
lot.
Anytime you want to contact me, please do. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, Lisa.
All
you get
right.
to, you should be able to share your screen. All right.
Can you see it?
Says Lisa has started screen sharing, but there we go.
Okay. All right, Southern Charm. We don't have any Southern bells going down the street in any of our photos this month. However, we have 14 different perspectives on what Southern Charm looks like. So it's great to have that many photos for the first month of the year. We have a lot of new people participating in the challenge, which is awesome as well. So hopefully that continues throughout the year. If you're new to the club, our photo challenge is for members to participate in every month. We have a different theme. This month it's Southern Charm, and our themes for the whole year are listed on the website in the member section. If you want to take a look at those ahead of time and plan when you're going to be out, what our topics are for the year, and try to work on some of those before they come up in through the rest of the year. We allow one image per person, and your image must be less than 2 years old.
Lisa, can you talk louder? They can't hear you.
Oh, I can try. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I'm right next to the computer.
Okay.
I could go over the
Uh,
rules if you want.
yeah, go ahead, Mike.
All right, so one image per person. Image must be less than 2 years old, no composites. You must be a paid member. And she forgot to change the next one. You do not have to be at the meeting. This year, we changed that rule. You could miss every meeting and still enter your image every month as long as you're a paid member. Although we do wish you would come to the meetings. The photographer of the year is going to win $100. Also, free membership for the next year and a really cool trophy. The way you vote, the people who are, well, the way you vote, you get to vote for your first, second, and third place, your three favorites. So vote for number 1, number 2, and number 3. We're going to award points for first through fifth place. So first place gets 5 points, second place gets 4 points. We add them up at the end of the year. That's how we get the photographer of the year. When you're voting, think of whether or not the image fits the theme. This month's theme was Southern Charm. The people in attendance will fill out the ballots that we have here. Hopefully everybody has a ballot. And the people at home, you'll email your ballot to vote@ngaphoto.club, not .com, but .club. And I think Lisa said there were 14 images tonight, so she's going to go through them 3 times. So go ahead.
Yep. Let me start here. And if you can't hear me, just let me know if I'm going too fast or too slow. And we'll go through them 3 times, like Mike said. 1,
We got a delay. Okay, there you go.
am I going at an okay speed?
Yeah, it just came up. There was just a delay before it came up.
3,
No, we still don't have 2.
okay.
There we go.
Why
This is
don't you
2.
call out the numbers when you see them?
All right, I'll call out the numbers when they come up. This is number 2.
Yep.
This is number 3. Still number 3.
That's quite a delay.
Number 4. Lisa's in Florida, so it's taking a long time for the images to get here.
Yeah, I'm on a hot spot tonight, so it may not be the best connection.
All right, number 5. Six. Seven. Eight. Nine. Ten. 11. 12. 13. 14. Yeah, on the screen, the sign says greatest little privy in North Georgia mountains. All right, so now she's gonna go backwards a little bit faster, maybe. 13,
I will try.
12. 11. 10. 9. 9.
Oh my goodness.
There, number 8. 7. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. 1.
I don't know that we want to do it a third time.
Does anybody need to see the pictures again? Okay, so let me do my voting here. Mhm. Okay, so we're collecting the
I'm gonna
votes here.
Stop sharing and just let you finish up,
All
Mike.
right, so people at home, send your votes to, was it vote at ngaphoto.club? Is that right?
Uh, Vote at ngaphoto.club.
Vote at ngaphoto.club. You have till about 10 o'clock to get your votes in, but you probably don't need that long. And people here, don't leave yet. We've got one more screen to see. Next month, we are meeting here at the Bowen, February 17th at 7 p.m. Our presentation is going to be by Melissa Moody, and it's going to be on frequency separation. And the photo challenge theme next month is Made Me Smile. And that's all, folks. Thank you for coming out. Those of you who are here in person, we're going out for Mexican. People at home, you'll have to eat on your own. And thank you for coming, and we appreciate it. And I think we had a great first meeting. And this video, if you want to see it again, will be on YouTube probably by the end of the weekend. So have a good night, everybody. Okay. All right, I'll take care of that in just a minute. We are done. I just gotta get out of here. Night, everybody.